Hi, this is Mike from Minimal 3DP, and today I want to talk about installing a new board in one of my old printers. This printer is my very first printer I got. It's an Ender 3, just the regular Ender 3. I of course started modding everything and doing things to it when I really didn't know what I was doing. And I'll be honest, the printer just never worked right, and I wound up just moving on to other printers. And this has been sitting in the corner for me. I had taken the board out of it, so there's no board. I had taken the newer screen I had gotten off of it and just put the old screen, original screen back on. Left on the Easy ABL. There's nothing wrong with the Easy ABL, but I found that there's a lot more support for the BL Touch, and so when I was looking for a auto bed leveling solution, I decided to switch everything over to BL Touch. I have more for support purposes than there being anything wrong with the Easy ABL. I really do like it. It's just, particularly when I was starting out, getting something there's not a lot of support from the community always tends to be a problem. But everything appears to be working, moving around. I fixed the hot end is now a V6 clone. I believe from PH3D. So that's still on there again with the Easy ABL. And so what I'm going to do today is just go over installing a brand new Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3 version 3 board into this machine. Should be a pretty significant upgrade and a really good upgrade. And I'll go through all the wiring, how I do things, and along with the wiring, I'll probably do a second video of actually configuring the firmware. Again, I got this board for about $44. Of course, now that I'm looking at it and ready to install, I'm noticing there's 10% off, and that's just par for the course for me personally. I'll put a link to this board in the description. I've started out by unpacking the board. So here's the new SK3 board. It has TMC 2209 steppers built in, and it should just be a drop-in replacement for my Ender 3 printer. Now the blue cord looks like that's still USB and micro USB, so that's fine. And again, it's drop-in replacement, so this should go fairly easy. In order to prepare for the install, I've gone ahead and navigated over to the Bigtreetech GitHub page, and I'm on the SKR Mini E3 repo. I'm going to look at hardware. I'm going to go down to the Mini E3 version 3, which is what I have. Go to hardware again, and I should have, I have lots of different PDFs I need. I'm going to start, I think, with the user's manual. I'll open up the user's manual first. Let me just page through it here. We're just going to skim this. And there's one of the boards with the measurements. There's the wiring diagram. That's excellent. Here's about sensorless homing, which I'm not going to be using. But if you are, it has the pins that you need to use jumpers on right here. Different configurations. So cooling fans, and looks like there's one right here, and of course my eyes aren't very good, so I'm not seeing the other ones. I'll come back to that, that's fine. And this looks like it has everything I need to make this work. So that's good. It's good. I'm just going to scroll down here and I'll leave this out. That's the one I want to look at probably most. So we're just going to keep this up on my screen as I'm working here, and I'll leave a link to this in the video description. Sorry. To start the wiring process, I'm going to just organize this a little bit. So this is the display ribbon. I want to just push this aside. Here's all the, in this sleeve is all the wiring going to the hot end. So I'm just going to again push that aside. Here's all the steppers. I'm just going to bend this back a little bit. Here's the end stops. Y here. And these on the original end are labeled. Back here, I have the power supply wires. Of course, as I'm doing this, nothing's plugged in. I've verified. I put ferrules on these, on that, and I suggest you look up how to do that. This right here is the bed wiring, and here's the thermistor bed. The first thing I'm going to do is, I think, if I remember correctly, the easiest thing to do is actually start screwing in some of these wires before I go ahead and screw the board down to the bottom. So I'm just going to hook in at least some of the wires. I think I'm going to focus on the power hot end, not hot end, bed, heated bed, and then the hot end right here. So I'm going to wire these. Once I have these wires, I'll go ahead, and these are also wires I think with the least play in them and the hardest to get in because of angles and also because of these ferrules. And then I'll go ahead and screw the board in to the bottom. I'll go ahead and mount it. So let me go ahead and start doing the wiring. To start off with, I'm going to connect the power supply wires. The red is hot, the black is ground, so I'm going to connect those. Those are connected again according to the wire diagram. Red goes here, black goes here, and I'll confirm that by going over and looking at the manual. You'll see over on the left hand side, there's the power supply. So let's go ahead and connect that. I'll start off by using a flathead screwdriver and just making sure these connectors are loose. Again, I'm not going to have much room to work on there. And so let's go ahead and loosen those before I do anything. The red one's going to go in here. Black will go here. Now, something I started doing to make my life easier, I'm going to go ahead and just color that screw with my red Sharpie. Because if I'm being honest with myself, I don't remember which was which till I look it up. And then I'll get black here and do the screw as black. Yeah. So there's two screws, and I guess while I'm here, let's go ahead and color in the heated bed. I don't need to do the hot end, which is this one right here. Doesn't need to, that doesn't matter which goes where. Let's go ahead and fix, get the colors right. Looking at this diagram, it looks like it's black here. Let's color that. And then red should be right here. I'll go ahead and color that in. Now, I just have a tiny bit of color in there, but that'll help me again because, I mean, I can't seem to remember anything nowadays. Yeah, so I'm going to flex these cables back a little bit just so I can just have power supply. And I'm going to go ahead and insert this. This is a little bit of a tight fit because I used a larger barrel. Okay, that's in. Let me get my, go ahead and tighten this up some. Didn't appear to grab, so let's go ahead and loosen this back up again. I didn't loosen this enough. loosen that all up. And I forget, let's loosen these two. Just loosen these up. Make sure that hole there is nice and wide. Okay, so I have those loose. So let's go back here. Let's insert this red wire in. Get the red wires in. It's nice and snug. Let's go ahead and do the black wire. This is what I was talking about, where there's not much room to work here, and it helps to be able to move the board around as you're trying to get these in. And I have to be gentle with this board to make sure I don't bust it, because that's all I need. Okay, so the black appears to be seated, and as far as I can see, yeah, it's pushed in far enough. Lighten that up. Okay, so both those are snug, and then let's go ahead and do the heated bed. And that one is labeled and wired black and then red. Let's switch back over. Look at that, verify. So black here, then red. So that's good. So let's go ahead and screw those in. Again, I also have the colors there to help me. This one here is black. You got to be careful, at least on mine. The heated bed wires are, the black wire has a stripe of red in it. And I always, in the tight confines, sometimes depending on how it's oriented, it's hard for me to tell which is which. Oops. Here, that in. Good. Now let's tighten that up. Good. That's all in. So we now have the power and heated bed wired. Now I'm going to go back over here to my wiring. And here's the wires I did. For the hot end, you'll notice that one, I did put ferrules on, but it doesn't matter which way these go in. So I'm going to go ahead, and since this is an odd angle, I'm going to go ahead and get one in. I'm actually, I think, going to need to hold that in. You can see this. So I have this in here. Tighten this up. Good. It's in. Now let's get this other ferrule in. I'll actually need to hold it. Since these are smaller ferrules, I have the whole, my tightness wide open. So it takes a little longer to get that, so I want that nice and, okay. So I have that nice and snug. Let me lift up, look at the wires. Everything looks right. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get this seated in my printer correctly. That way I should be able to do the rest of the wiring. Rest of the wiring just with it set in place. Okay, I have the board all lined up, so I'm just going to go ahead and screw that into the bottom. As I mentioned, this is a drop-in replacement, so I don't need to print any adapters or anything else, which is good. course, I've dropped the screw. Watch me mess around. This. You'll notice that I mentioned a drop-in replacement. You'll notice that the SD card slot and the micro USB slot line up with the front of the case. So that's exactly what I want. I'm going to start with the screw closest to me. I'm going to make sure that's snug, but I'm not going to go crazy. Let's go ahead and screw that middle screw in. I'm not going to do all of them, but I'll get this front one, one here, and then over here. I think that's probably tight enough. Okay, I have my screws in. I'm going to wiggle that. That feels good. I'm also going to check my connections here just to make sure everything connects. That appears correct. I'm going to take the micro SD card I have here, and I'm going to put it in the wrong way because, God forbid, I put it in the right way the first time. Or the second time. It doesn't feel perfect, but it is, looking at the front of it, lining up. Now for me personally, I don't use the SD card slot very much. The only time I'll use it is to flash. So that's okay, but that appears to be seated correctly. Everything appears to be right. So next I'm going to start connecting all my various wires. And I'll use, again, that wiring diagram to assist me. I'm going to start off by looking at my various fans and how I need to connect those. So I can look at the board here. Let's see if we can. Okay. So this right here, the second connection from the hot end, is fan 0, fan 1, and fan 2. Fan 0 and fan 1 should probably be, I'm going to say, the hot end fan as well as the part cooling fan. Fan 2 is going to be the fan that goes on the case to cool the whole board. Okay, I'll start off with the 3 fans. I'm going to leave this connection. I'm not going to connect a fan here. That's for the case fan. That's fan 2. I'm going to find my fan with the connector with the blue and yellow wires. That's my part cooling fan, and I'm going to put in my part cooling fan into fan 1. I'm sorry, never mind. I'm going to put it into fan 0. To read right. That's going into fan 0. So I'll go over here, and it's going into right here. Let's go ahead and plug that in. We'll just push that down. It's seated correctly. Now we'll switch back over and look at the diagram. So fan 2 is positive on the left, negative on the right. So red and then black. So it's red and black. Right now on my old board, the hot end fan was always on, and so I just had it plugged directly into power. So you can see these ferrules on. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in a JST connector. And for the JST, I want the red on this side, black on this side. So we're just going to hold those wires there, and let me get my connection kit. Okay, so looking at the board and then looking at the diagram, I want red on the left side. So let's go back here to my document camera, my desk cam. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a little color here. That way I have the correct orientation there. So I have red on the side where I need red to go in, and that way I don't mess this up. Now I'm just going to start off by clipping these ferrules off. Of course, I need to find my scissors. I got my snips. Go ahead and snip those ferrules off. And go ahead and throw them away. So otherwise I'll find them a month from now and try to figure out where they came from. I'll start off and just strip this wire so I have maybe about 3 millimeters of wire showing. So I just do this tiny little bit of wire. This usually works for me for JST connectors. So just that tiny little bit there. This on the black side. Give it a twist or two. Go. The connectors. Start with the red wire. Put it in. Clip it down. Tighten these wings a little bit. Fingers. Put it back in here to clamp it down. Not perfect, but that should be good enough. Now, I think I have a video on this. I actually can't remember, so I should have a video. What I do is put the connector at 0.6 right there. Puts it in. Now I'm just working on the inner wings. Insert my wire all the way to the casing. Clamp. It's got it. I'll go ahead and tighten these wings a little bit. A little closer together. There we go. And I'll just take it to 0.9 on here. There we go. Tighten them down. Now, here's the actual JST connector. There's a little thing on top here that clicks into place here. So what we're going to do is make sure that's up. Red's going on the red side. Push that in. Clicked in place, so that's good. And we'll do the same with black. Clicked into place. Now I'm going to connect this to fan 1, which is right above fan 0. So show you again on the wiring diagram. Again, the hot end fan, I'm sorry, the part cooling fan went in fan 0. The hot end fan went into fan 1. And then the case fan will go into fan 2. So now let's go ahead and start on the various stops. So let me look. Z stop, and that's going to be for my easy ABL side. I'm probably not going to find the X real easy. That's it. There's X. So X is going to go in next to fan 0. So X, Y, Z. Right now I have fan 0, which is the the yellow blue wire. Then I have X, Y, and Z. Z in my case goes to the easy ABL. We'll put that in here. Looking at the board, I have, looks like heated bed right here, and then the last connection I'm sure should be the thermistor for the hot end. But again, let's check that wiring diagram. It can't hurt. The bed is second from the end, right next to Z, and then the hot end. So let's look. Again, let's just take a quick look. Looks like everything. I got this one Z tangled in here, so let's see if we can get that out. There we go. So I have the stepper motors all right here. So let's see if we can go ahead and get those situated. Looking at my wire diagram, I have the X stepper, Y, Z, Z2, or ZB as they're labeling it here, and then the extruder. So let's go ahead and start plugging this all in. Switch back over my desk cam, and this is my X determine up at the top, X, then Y, then Z, and Z's what type. Go. Sit right there, Z, and then all the way at the end we're skipping one because I only have one Z here. Let's see if I can a little bit further. There we go. There's my extruder. I'm going to look at all this, and everything appears to be situated correctly. And the last bit of wiring I need to do is take my ribbon cable for the LCD and switch over real quick my wiring diagram. I can see the LCD goes right here, so I just need to orient this cord. Check again, all the wires are in place. This is going to be a bit of a hassle. Let's see if I can bring this over to the side, orient it this way, and see if I can get this fan in. Might have to actually unplug some stuff to make it work. Let's get the case fan on. I'm not actually going to put the case on because I want to make sure everything's working right. Or at least working as well as could be expected before I mess with the firmware. Okay. So, case fan is now installed. That's all hooked up, and I'm leaving this off to the side so it doesn't pull the cord too much. Now, let's go ahead and turn the machine on. Now, right now, I don't have the correct firmware. I'm going to do a second video on that. Right now, what I'm focusing on is just the wiring. So as far as I can tell, the wiring all looks correct. I'm going to go ahead and turn the machine on and make sure we're getting power and that good stuff. Okay, so we have the moment of truth. Let's kick the printer on. See the light in the back has come on. If I switch over, look at the screen. Screen is on, so that's good, and it looks like I'm getting a hot end reading for temperature and also a bed reading, so that's good. The firmware is not configured properly. I'll go ahead and do that as my next step, and I'll do a separate video for configuring the firmware. In my case, the firmware will be a little bit more complicated because I have an easy ABL, but I'll go ahead and put it all together, walk you through the steps. If you're interested, I'll post it all on GitHub. Thank you for joining me as I wired up my new board. This has been Minimal 3VP and Mike Wilson putting together and installing a Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3 version 3 board into my old Ender 3 machine, my first printer. See if I can get it running. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I really appreciate your time. I hope you have a great day. Why stop?